Welcome to EAC Insight. I'm your host, Anthony Ellis. Today we're joined by a remarkable individual, Scott Neeson, a former Scottish-Australian film executive turned philanthropist. As the founder and executive director of the Cambodian Children's Fund, Scott has transformed the lives of over 10,000 children and families in Cambodia through education, healthcare and child protection since 2004. From Hollywood humanitarian, his journey from managing blockbusters like Titanic and Star Wars to dedicating his life to Cambodian youth showcases his profound impact and dedication to children's rights and the communication leadership. He's an inspiration and a testament to the power of change. Scott, thank you very much and welcome to EAC News.
Thank you for the invite.
No worries. Wow, a big change.
Yes, indeed.
Hollywood.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of people dream to be in the position that you're in.
Including me, I dreamed as well, yeah. When I got there, it was fabulous. It was a really good job. I was paid exorbitant salaries, travel around the world, and it was a dream job.
So here you are earning
lots of money.
Lots of money. Been involved with Titanic. I mean, Star Wars. I mean, especially Star Wars with Lucas. One of the biggest movies.
It was for the reissue of the first one, and worked with the Lucas. It was really hard work. They're very particular about every last scene and every detail and how it's being marketed.
So you grew up in Australia, so a little Aussie kid kicking the footy around South Australia from memory?
It was, just north of Adelaide. And then I was moved to Adelaide. I was working there, and then Sydney, and moved on from there.
Then Sydney to the bright lights.
And to Los Angeles, it worked out well.
And so you spent a lot of time in the States.
I lived in the US for 11 years, mostly at 20th Century Fox, president of International, and later for a brief period at Sony Pictures. But in between the two studios, I had visited Cambodia, Phnom Penh, seen the Sting Ming Che landfill. So my corporate life was unraveling pretty quick at that stage by the time I got back.
So, you're rubbing shoulders with some A-listers.
Most of the big actors, there's a few that were contracted to different studios, but you generally, with 80 films a year, roughly, you work with all of the main actors and spend time with them on set or traveling.
So you're going backpacking to Cambodia one day and just said, you know what?
The backpacking piece is a bit of an, isn't quite true. I was staying at Raffles. I had a backpack, so I can honestly say I was backpacking, but I wasn't going to go and stay and lie on the floor. But I came out and stayed at Raffles and planned to spend just 2 days here because back then there was no direct flights to Siem Reap. So I stopped over and spent a few days in Phnom Penh. I heard good things about it, but it was far more impactful than I ever imagined. I didn't come here for that purpose. There was never any thought of getting into philanthropy or into the charitable world. I really didn't have any experience in that. And certainly in the US, I wasn't a big giver to charity.
Okay. Then what made you change? What made you say, well, hang on, I don't need the light lines anymore. I don't need that life. This is my life. Because it's a big change.
There's two components. One is that I ended up being taken to the landfill at Sting Ming Che. I wanted to see a place where there were no other charities that I was aware of working in that area, and some place where I could donate money to try and help these kids. The landfill was appalling. It was not just the smell, but the heat down there was unbearable because the garbage dump generates methane, that burns, and the temperatures are just soaring. Kids with burns, adults with burns. I had burns from stepping into these like sinkholes, and it's like lava made from garbage, and it's incredibly hot. And a number of the kids were left there by parents. A number were living on the landfill, so they'd work picking up recyclables, and when they got tired, they'd sleep on the landfill, wake up and do it again, and doing that for years on end.
Wow.
So it was a terrible situation. That alone wasn't the reason for moving here. I think because all of us see tragedy and suffering every day, whether it's on television or in any kind of the media. What really struck me was that the fact that I could help, and it was so much easier than I expected. I always thought it was somewhat abstract, the concept of helping children and knowing what to do. But when a child is in front of you and the only thing they're asking for is, can you get me into school? It's very hard to walk away. And the fact that it took just a couple of hours to, in this girl's case, the mother was there to arrange them to get a rental house, $15 a month, and have a trusted friend in Phnom Penh who I could send money to when I was back in LA, and look after the rent, school fees, make sure it's all getting paid, and just check on compliance that the child was in school. It was so easy. So next day it was another 2 or 3 kids, and after my sort of a 5-week break, it was just I was very fulfilled. I hadn't given to charities because I always had the same typical concerns that I don't know where the money's going, and maybe people are skimming, and the bureaucratic, they're living in, say, New York, but trying to help kids here. And it wasn't my responsibility. But let me tell you, when you're on that landfill and the child's got your eye to eye and says, can you take me to school? I mean, none of those things are relevant anymore. It is my responsibility. Well, I felt it was my responsibility. I knew where the money would go.
Yeah, I think everything just goes out the door, and you think, well, you're a person. If that was my child, you know, it's something, you know, you have to do something to help these children.
And I was really shocked, I guess, that it was so simple. And that child, it got more complicated later when we started to scale up a wee bit, but it seemed so simple. And it changed the trajectory. That girl now, she's graduated university with a degree in finance.
Well, that's really good.
Yeah, nearly 70% of those first kids have gone through university now.
Well, it's a big,
phenomenal,
big thing. I've done a bit of research, and I've actually quite followed you guys for a long time. So this year you're celebrating 20 years. So 20 years ago, here you are, seeing this young girl. So could you please put me to school? And now she's passed, and you said she's doing such great things of life. 20 years, wow. Did you ever think you'd be still doing the same thing 20 years ago?
I came here without much of a plan. I didn't know how it was going to grow, didn't know how long I'd be here for, but I did know it was something I had to do. And I knew back then if I didn't do it, I'd be filled with regrets the rest of my days. So I didn't have a great plan, but I didn't really envisage more than 2 or 3 years. And then I'd go back and try and find a job in the film business. But 20 years, no. I'm also astounded how well it's grown, because it's now well beyond education.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look after education. You look up. You got hospitals. You just don't look after just kids. I mean, I think it's over 10,000 kids you've helped in the last 20 years. But you look after a lot of older people as well.
We have a medical clinic that sees about 30,000 people a year. There's 5 full-time doctors there, so everything's free. Maternal care clinic. We built 500 and something basic homes in the area, because you know, if a child doesn't have a place to stay, they're not going to go to school.
Yeah, that's right.
Initially, all the programs were to ensure the children came to school regularly. That was a big education for me, because they would go into school, but they wouldn't stay there. They'd be absent quite a bit. And of course, the obvious thing was the parents needed the money for them working, and they often had sick grandparents, sick children they had to look after. They were carrying enormous debt. So we found solutions one at a time, and got the absentee rates way down, and got the regular attendance and the consistency year on year of keeping the kids in school.
I'm sure early in the piece that would have been more hard than what it is now, because of like you say, financial situations, and they still need to eat.
It took years to get the programs one after the next, and it took me years to really understand the core problems there. And the grannies, initially, I was giving the grannies money from my own pocket, because they were begging money from people that worked on the landfill, and that was a terrible thing. But we started a leadership program, and I had this realization that the best way to learn leadership is to be responsible for another person. And we have a small group of 3, sometimes 4 of our mid-teens, those in secondary school, high school, who take the responsibility of checking up on the grandmother, visiting her every week, sometimes twice a week, dropping off the rice and the stipend. And the other thing was, I think this, because of the 70s and what happened with the Khmer Rouge, there's a bit of an absence amongst the adult population, the parental population now, in terms of the culture, traditions in the past, family values, the structure. And the grannies, of course, they have a whole history prior to the bad old days, and they're able to teach the kids about that. The parents, you know, I feel terribly sorry for them. They missed a childhood. They didn't learn about, you know, family structures and traditions, games, superstitions. So the grannies help us with that. And they're also the foster parents too. So many of them now look after foster kids.
I mean, there is a lot of history here in Cambodia, to be told. There's still a lot more people unaware of. Unfortunately, back at home in a lot of the Western countries don't realise how much Cambodia has grown and how far it's gone in the last 10 years alone. It is amazing. And I'm sure, I mean, we could talk hours about some stories that you would remember over the last 20 years. And
things have improved remarkably. There's the structure of government, the new ministers in charge, the various portfolios are they're far more experienced, motivated, and far more diligent about how they run their ministries. There's some really good ministers in place. I think some great changes happened there. It's also infrastructure. There's more jobs, more people speaking English, getting into proper trades.
So speaking about the government, how are you finding the new ministry? So they're helping you be able to move forward?
Prior to the latest restructure, the changes, I got good cooperation. If we had problems, they were generally responsive, and they're responsive. They're very communicative, and they were they helped. They really did help. Whether it was education, Minister of Interior, the Health Ministry, they were good. These days, it's there's a whole sense of it feels like there's a fresh energy amongst the ministries to do more, to really help. I think they want to make their mark. They want to prove what they can do, both to Cambodia.
I've noticed that myself just in the last few months with the new government. They're doing a lot of promoting Cambodia's welfare, promoting that, you know, Cambodia is just as good as Vietnam, Thailand for businesses and everything else. Money, I mean, that of course is your backbone to get the CFF, the CCF, the Cambodian Children's Fund, off the ground. But also 10 years ago, you helped start another project, CPU, the Cambodian Child Protection Unit. Which I don't think it's out there a lot because of the severity of their job and what they do.
And you know, the work is to help the investigations, lead the investigations. It's in partnership with Cambodian National Police, and it's, you know, the cases from in the past weren't often prosecuted, where children have been abused, sexually abused, and it needs a more professional and experienced team to investigate, to use, say, forensics, knowing ways to interview the child, and that really enhanced the conviction rate enormously. The government, everyone told me, it won't work. The government will be getting involved. They got their friend out. Never happened. They've never stepped in at any point to try and change the course of justice. And there has been some senior people too. They've all ended up in jail. And it was remarkable. I mean, basically, I ended up being just raising the funds for the CPU. There's a professional team led by Jim McCabe, and I don't add value. I just see the results that come in.
But I think even raising funds plays a big part, because without funds, you don't exist.
No, we don't. No, you know, it's quite a bit of funds. It includes CPU, education, the community outreach programs, healthcare. It's a significant budget.
And I've noticed in the last 3 or 4 years, the results CPU are coming up with is absolutely fantastic. You know, unfortunately, there have been some child deaths. Well, you know, but the investigations seem to be found a lot more. So things are moving.
They do, and there are cases where the death had been ruled as an accident, and Jim's team's gone in there and realised it was not the case at all. A few cold cases, and you know, the murders are a terrible, terrible thing when it's a child. I don't think there's any way to prevent them.
No,
but I think there's a change in the sense of impunity towards abusing a child. The case of whether, no matter who you are, if you abuse a child, you will go to jail. And more people report it with confidence.
Well, that's good. Funds. How do you raise so much funds? Just to look on your face, and it's like, wow. Because I mean, there is a lot of other NGOs and everything else, but they seem to have these big people behind them. I mean, you're just based here in Cambodia. How do you? And
there's a couple of ways. First of all, I'm based here, but it would be easier if I was living overseas. But I learned early on that you couldn't do the job as effectively if you're based overseas. And to a large degree, I'm just so motivated emotionally by the kids' stories or the granny stories. Being here and seeing how they change, the potential, the problems they have, it gives me so much more energy to keep on out there fundraising. It's hard, but it's all been individuals, a lot of really good people and family foundations and grants that come through. But it's not the normal structure. It's all done based on our programs. It's not government funded from any country. So it tends to be the individuals and those who come out and visit, see it for themselves, those who read the story.
So 20 years, any special things happening for this year to celebrate?
In country, we've got a big event coming up on end of May, May 26, 25, 26, street parties. We're going to have some awards, concerts, and we're going to open our schools for a science display. We have over 100 people coming from overseas. All our donors, supporters, board members from all the different countries coming in. And it'll be very emotional. It's a big deal.
I'm sure for you to see where you've come from, like you said, you've left so much behind as grown up as a child in Australia that had this dream to become, like a lot of people involved in movies have money, have the Ferraris and the big penthouses and everything else, to have something so humble.
The legacy. It's a great legacy, and seeing not just how CCF's grown, but the kids coming in. Seeing the change they've got, the future they have, even within a matter of months, even children that, encountering now, seeing them in a month's time, they're going to be so much better, and the family will be better off, and they'll be getting help if there's for whatever reason that they end up on the landfill, the old garbage dump.
So any story out there that took your heart and you never forget it? I'm sure there's probably thousands of them, but
there are, oh goodness, there are probably tens of thousands, really. Interact with the kids every day. Just last week, I was with a very one of the older grandmothers, over 100, and her health is failing, and she asked if she could visit her homeland.
I did see that.
Oh, you saw that? But it was really sweet. It was very sort of quiet, intimate moment, and she took off the ring she'd had since she was a girl, and she gave it to me. I didn't know what to do. I didn't feel good taking it, but I've got it even to this day. She's a beautiful woman, really special. Her daughter is in the granny program. Her daughter's in her 70s. So,
so you have a great granny program sort of thing.
Yeah, that really touched me. It was such a lovely moment.
So, I'm sure you must carry a box of tissues everywhere you go.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, but she's going up to the homeland today, I think.
Oh, great! That's great news. What about in the kids? Any great successful things that you think, wow, you didn't think that would become something?
There are so many kids I found on the landfill, been left there by their parents. In one case, the father left them there, and they've both gone on through university, and they've chosen to help their family, the two sisters, and they came from terrible conditions. I've got all the photographs from back then, and now they're just thriving. Getting married and earning good money in good jobs. There's, my goodness, 140 of those children are now in university, and about 200 have graduated so far.
That's big numbers. I mean, you're going to be pretty happy about that, wouldn't you?
Even as a percentage, nearly 70% have gone on. I never expected that. Which goes back to fundraising. Everybody made it's a real headache.
It does, I'm sure it is, because you do have a lot of competition in fundraising.
Yeah, we've got our own market. To be honest, I mean, there is a great deal of media around the fact that I moved from Hollywood to the landfill. That helped a lot in the first place, getting that media coverage about the story. But these days, it really is about the successes. It really is about the success of the programs. And people get to see now the results, how these children are turning out, how the grandmothers are thriving now. We have a granny sponsorship program, and my goodness, that's very popular.
Yeah, I can imagine this, because I think as kids and that will always have a special bond with their own grandparents.
You'd hope so, Unfortunately, though, they're not always around. I know that the current Prime Minister's wife is a big fan of the granny. She's paid for them to go to all sorts of fun places, including the Prince Manor Resort. Is it? It's just outside.
Yeah.
I've got photographs of one granny who's 102 driving one of those little race cars. They do love John Money. They love her. She comes down regularly.
Really,
she's the real deal. She doesn't like talking about it, but there's many times she's come down quietly and she's given things to the grandmothers. God, they do love her.
Yeah. Well, it just shows you the respect that I have for the grannies and your program. I'm sure that must make you feel good that the First Lady pays a special attention.
Yeah, she's a very special person.
Yeah, I've met her too, and she was she was very polite, very nice. And
both of them, they sponsor some of our children too. Two of our children sponsored.
Wow.
By Prime Minister and the First Lady.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, you must feel good that, because I mean, Cambodia has a bad reputation many years ago with so much corruption and everything else, but you're seeing firsthand that they're normal people. They're doing, they're helping, they're sponsoring kids. So that must make you feel good in organisation.
Some of the senior ministers are sponsoring children as well.
Wow.
And it's not advertised, of course. They don't want it made public, but they do that and they do it quietly. Yeah.
Well, that's good. And now you help a lot of these students go to university overseas as well. It's not just here.
Yes, yeah.
You see potential.
We've got, I think, 10 now in University of Melbourne. It's a special scholarship arrangement. So 1 or 2 students every year will get chosen based on, very rigorous academic performance, good English, leadership skills. My goodness, they're excelling. Double majors. We had 3, 4 already graduated with degrees in international relations and media communications, all double majors.
Well, that's a huge success.
Yeah,
that's a huge success. I mean, it's the future of Cambodia, isn't it?
It is. They're going to come back. They'll come back this way. They want to work for a couple of years in Australia, get the experience, and come back here.
I mean, even with some of the ministers now, and a lot of, I mean, the Kip Meng as well. The Royal Group. They do study overseas, and and their heart's always Cambodia, and they learn to get the experience and then come back. And I think that's what's made Cambodia grow so well. And
really does help. We've got one student he was right on the landfill. Lovely parents. So he graduated with a degree in internet technology and programming. He got himself a scholarship, did his master's in France, and he's now doing his PhD in Belgium on a scholarship. So.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what's going to be next. And his younger sister's down studying University of Melbourne. His parents are very, very happy.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, I mean, your stories could just keep going on and on. I'm sure talking about it will bring back memories and things like that. In the future, what are your plans? 5 years, 10 years? I mean, unfortunately, we're all never going to be around for the rest of our,
No. For me, the plan is making it sustainable beyond me, which is it's a lengthy process. I didn't realise there's a lot of aspects to it. It's having good governance as oversight, having excellent people in Cambodia, and of course the funding, making sure the funding is going to sustain as much as possible. Yeah. We've got, at this stage, I'm very happy with the people working in CCF right now. Yeah. I think they're terrific people, and they're going to be very good leaders. They're better run it, and funding's a work in progress, but we're getting there. I think we're going to be okay, and we've got a good governance now. We have a global board. Okay. So I want to ensure, governance, we never really have to use it, but it's good to have someone there looking after compliance, audit, those sort of things.
I think you do, because I mean, like we spoke about before, you were going home and you saw a family there, the kids, and you couldn't help but stopping.
No.
And so with that governance, I think that they kind of worry about more that sort of stuff, so you can still do what you love. Mm-hmm. So you still have the passion with the kids and things. Yeah.
And, for in 5 to 10 years, that plan will be written by the next heads of CCF. Yeah, they should be writing that plan. I think they probably have. Or they will once they get their feet really wet. Realize what has to be done. Yeah. A lot of confidence in them.
So what do you think your biggest accomplishment has been with CCF? I mean, you said you've got schools, hospitals, and looked after so many. There must be one that says, I'm so proud of that.
If you look at the statistics, they're phenomenal. The number of kids going to university. We have absentee rates that are half the US. In Australia, we've only got 4.8% absentee rates on any given day. And these kids are living tough.
Yeah.
We've never lost a mother in maternal care over 12 years, which used to be very high. But, the way the whole model's turned out and the way the management are in place, it's phenomenal. I never in my wildest dreams expected that. For me, that's always been about the individual story of the children and seeing where they come from. And I know the names. People have trouble believing it, but I know the names of all the kids and I can recite them on site. But it's all part of it. That's what really motivates me.
Yeah.
I don't want to be too far away from that.
Yeah, that's right. If they made a movie about it, what would be the name? What would you think they'd say? Yeah, that's what CCF was.
I think that script should be written by the next generation, and it might write me out, the character out. I know it might be written me out at some point. Well, and I think that it really is right now. We've got a really strong model that works well. I want to maintain that, and I'd like to. We do spend a lot of money. It's a fairly big budget. I'd like to try and do more at a national basis, much like Child Protection Unit does at a national basis. So, trying to take what we've established in education and looking at whether we can somehow take piece of that for the far out provinces. Because some very good teachers who don't have the right resources. So it's about sustaining a few bits and pieces here. Also, potentially bringing on kids from the outer provinces who have great academic scores, but they don't have the means to go further, either into high school or into university.
So when you see these kids and you go up and talk to them, do you have to converse them into going to school or to do this sort of stuff?
It's always the same. They come up, especially now, I've been going down to the communities for 20 years. All I have to do is get down to their height and they'll come up and say, can I go to study Somtauri and Somtauri? I get it all the time. And everyone, the locals know who I am, so they'll point the kids towards me.
That's good.
And then they go through the whole selection process. And it's a strict criteria getting in there.
That was going to be my next question. Is there a progress? Because I'm sure you can't help every kid that you'd like to.
I do try though.
I've read a lot about you over the last 12 months trying to organise this, and I've seen some of your stories follow the Cambodian Children's Fund quite a lot on Facebook and everything else. So I see that and I'm thinking, I just know how you do it, this sort of stuff. So there is a criteria for these children.
There is a strict criteria. I will give them the voucher and they need to interview with our community team, community outreach. The most fundamental criterion is they cannot access education without our intervention. If they can't be in school, if their parents have sufficient funds and plan to send to school, then they don't get in. So if you cannot access education without an intervention, there's a good chance you'll get in. And if there's risk problems at home or you're there alone with an elderly grandparent, then that will accelerate it too.
And so you do education, you've got a hospital?
Yeah, we have a leadership program for our students there, maternal care. We've built the housing, community outreach, child protection unit, and there's so much more. Food program. There's 46 smaller projects.
Oh, wow.
Every night we feed nearly 700 children. We don't, our older students do it.
So that's part of the program.
4 different points where the kids go in for their meals in the evening, bring along a spoon, that's all they need. And it's not our kids, it's from all over the place. Many programs like that. There's something like 20-something community classes where our students will teach other kids in the community. If you want to learn English or Khmer, then we have those classes. It's all voluntary.
Yeah, okay.
It's alive. You should come and see it. I would encourage that.
I definitely will. I'll do that. So how do people find you? Can they get involved?
Go down to the garbage dump. Go to the garbage dump. I'll be there.
Well, there's not as many garbage dumps now as there was many years ago. But if people overseas want to get involved,
it's CambodianChildren'sFund.org, and it's all there. A really good, friendly website.
Yeah.
And people overseas, especially, the child sponsorship program is unique.
Yeah.
It's very finely tuned to have that bond between sponsor and child, and it's great communication, provided you're willing to email and make video calls a couple of times a year. I think they would love it.
I think that plays important too, because you want to see how your child's going if you sponsor a child.
Yeah,
I think it gives you a bit more.
It does, but I also want someone in the child's life to be able to say, great work at school and happy birthday.
Yeah.
And just ask how they're doing. And if there's no one doing that, I think it's good for someone. I don't want to, I mean, I can't do it to all the kids.
Well,
the sponsors, most of them are really good about doing that.
Yeah.
They'll send some small money for, say, a birthday present.
Yeah.
Buy the kids some clothes or whatever they want. It works very well.
Yeah. So you have this big party in end of May. So tell us a bit more about that. What's it?
It really is a recognition for initially a board and all the people that have donated, but it's going to include the whole community, everyone that's been part of it since the beginning. There'll be a massive street party closing off the surrounding area to have a street party there. We hope to have one of the royals for the awards, giving the awards to those who've donated, supported, and open up our schools. There's also smaller events going on all around the world, so I'll be traveling a lot. The US, UK, Australia, Hong Kong.
Oh, wow. So it's kind of left the limelight to look after these kids, but you seem to be still doing a lot around the world to bring back to help these kids.
Yeah, I need the funds. Yeah, we need the money.
The funds.
Really do. Yeah, I mean, that's what I like. I really like dealing with the community and the kids and the parents. I know them all quite well now in that community, but funds are needed, and I enjoy dealing with those people too. Really good people supporting us. Some of them enormously generous and supportive.
Yeah, Scott, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Good luck to the future, and I hope things keep going up. Myself and EAC News are quite happy to help any way we can to help promote and let the people out there know what's such a good job you're doing, but not just you, the Cambodian Children's Fund.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of the backbone, but now you said they've got their own board, so that's something.
Yeah, we do have boards in the other countries, compliance, but it's nothing quite like seeing it. So if you want to come down with the crew, I'm happy to show you around. Yeah, I'd love to do that. And also with the great work the Child Protection is doing there. And like I said, once again, thank you very much. Good luck to the future, and we'll catch up soon. Yes. Thank you very much. Bye. Thanks.